Hello everybody, welcome to another weekly market review for F45trading.com. This week's Forex market should be pretty interesting. We had a very eventful non-farm payroll last Friday to cap off the first trading week into July. First day right after July 4th, after the holiday, U.S. banking holidays. You can see the big reaction that we saw here in the U.S. dollar, big push up. Right into the area that I was looking for, and again, the wick came in about 9. The wick came in here exactly. I just had it on the chart there at 97.01. So basically 9,700, and rejected nicely so far. And we were looking at the fib here, as I've been mentioning. If you guys had been watching my stuff there from last week, our market review, you would have seen I said either I was looking for price to hold off in this region in here, or at the very highest I wanted to see a move back up into this range here and no higher than 97, and that's pretty much exactly what we got on Friday. So going into this week here, I'm just going to pull up the news for the week, if it'll load. There we go. I'm going to slide this over so you can see it, and you can see here the week is laid out. We have some fairly high impact statements coming out for the Canadian dollar. We have our Canadian dollar Bank of Canada monetary policy report. Nothing on Monday, nothing to speak of anyway, worth mentioning. On Monday, we've got Fed Chair Powell speaking Tuesday morning, and a bunch of FOMC members speaking on later in the day on Tuesday. So Tuesday we could see a little bit of volatility on the U.S. dollar. Going into Wednesday, we started out with GDP minutes, meeting minutes for the pound sterling, and then manufacturing production news coming out, and then right into that Bank of Canada statements at 10 a.m. New York time, so sort of middle of the day New York trading time. And then we have followed up by a Bank of Canada press conference, and then we have more pound news, and then pound sterling news, and then more U.S. FOMC members speaking. And then we have the meeting minutes coming out at 2. So I would imagine Wednesday this week is going to be fairly volatile, especially for Canadian dollar, of course. The pound sterling probably will see a little bit of activity, and then late in the day, we'll probably see late in the day movement runners for the U.S. dollar with these meeting minutes that have come out for Wednesday. And then going into Thursday, we have lots of U.S. dollar news, early New York open, and starting it off is some medium impact euro news and some pound sterling news again at 5:30 a.m. New York time for Thursday. And then Fed Chair Powell speaking again, testifying this time at 10 a.m. New York time. And then going into Friday, we've got, of course, some more PPI news for U.S. dollar and core PPI, so to wrap up the week. So all in all, we should see some movement this week. And again, Monday will probably be fairly quiet in terms of volatility, and then we'll start to see things ramp up with all these speakers, obviously, on Tuesday, and then going right into Wednesday and then Thursday. So just be careful when you are trading, that you're not tucking your stops in too tight right ahead of some of these news events. I wouldn't trade Canadian dollar if I were you until after this news event on Wednesday, and everything else looks to be pretty much free and clear. So let's jump into the charts here. As mentioned, the U.S. dollar, we hit that high. Not looking for this to go any higher. If we start trading higher than 97.05, I might give it to 97.10 at the very, very top end. Absolutely no higher than that. If it goes any higher than that, then we'll be looking for these highs to get run up, and we'll be expecting this to be the low set in last month, and then we'll be making new highs going into July. If this level right here, or the old high from Friday, does not get breached, I'm expecting this thing to run and continue lower. Now, again, we've got some interest rate news events for the U.S. dollar coming out later in the year. They're going to be lowering their interest rate, so that's going to put downward pressure on the U.S. dollar. However, they did come out with some fairly favorable news last week. The unemployment numbers came out, obviously, and things looked really good. So some mixed signals coming out of the U.S. dollar. So I'm still looking to be bearish on this pair, and as long as we don't cross this high here, I'll maintain that stance. and I'll be looking for this low and then ultimately this low here to get run out before month's end. So we'll watch for that. Euro USD, same type of idea. And again, we took a fib on this, and we had price came and ran right down into the area that we were talking about on non-farm payroll last Friday. And now, again, I'm looking for this to be relatively the low. I don't want to see price trade any lower than this rectangle in here, which would come in at specifically 111. Call it about 1200. I don't want to see price go any lower than 1200, which is basically this line right here. If I can't get it on the chart, that's pretty close. 112.99, 1200. Don't want to see price go any lower than that. If we do, we're going to run this low right here, which is why I dragged out this line here, just as in case. And then we'll see what they want to do. We came down twice here, and then rejected quite aggressively off of those lows right there. So quite frankly, if we lose this low right here, I don't think it's going to bode very well for this being the low. They'll probably want to stretch down and sweep below that low. And if that happens, then obviously we'll be up in taking out these highs here for the US dollar. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for on the Euro USD, dropping down to a 4-hour. Price came right down into the area that I was talking about last Friday, and you can see most of the week we had a big down day to start out the week on Monday, and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday were straight sideways. The markets were absolutely nothing going on last week whatsoever. That's why I was fairly quiet, and then we finally saw the breakdown on Friday occur. So I'm hoping this to be essentially just like this, just sort of a nice straight trend line. Bounce higher, and we get long on that one. That's what I'd like to see. Don't want to see price come down, take out this low. If it does, we can certainly look to see if this consolidation area in here will hold up. But I don't think it's going to bode very well. I think if they're going to come all the way down, sink it past this low here, they're just going to want to take this low and then ultimately this guy right here. So that's my thoughts on Euro. But if we do start to progress higher off of these levels, then I'll be looking for them to take out this area. And then when we take out this area right here, I'm going to put that in green, kind of green for a go. Then that's going to be the indication that we're going to try to take out these highs here. And then ultimately, my long-term goal for the end of the month here, 114.60. So we're quite a ways away from that. And again, it is summer months, so it may not happen this month. It could take them a little while to get up there, especially if you look at the way that Euro USD has been trending. It's been very, very sideways going forward, previously. So I would expect more of the same to continue. But we could be looking at about 250 pips plus to the upside if we can look at this as being the relative low going into the rest of the month. So we'll see how that works out. Pound dollar showed a little bit more weakness than what the Euro USD did. As you can see, the Euro did not take out that low. The US dollar did not take out that high. But we can see the pound dollar, it took out that low quite convincingly. So we see a little bit more weakness on the pound dollar. We're very, very close to this low here, 124.20. So we're only about 100 pips away from that low. So if they really want to start sinking this, they could want to try to take out and run these lows here. Price is looking very, very heavy in here. So we'll have to wait and see what they want to do. If we go into Euro GBP, this almost looks like a topping pattern in here. And honestly, if we see more continuation to the upside, that's going to bode strongly for cable to go to the downside if they hold Euro USD in consolidation. So we'll have to see. If they start pushing this up, though, and we start to see pound not wanting to take out this low here, we could see it sort of going sideways to higher while they release the Euro USD and let that run. So we'll see what happens there, but I think Euro GBP is going to give us some indication here coming up into this week here. US CAD. We had US CAD achieve some targets last week. This old low back here being one of them at 130, call it 67. We had a low that ran all the way down to right there on that low, 130.35. So it went a lot further than what I had anticipated, but nonetheless, it achieved that low last Friday. Look at the rejection on that candle last Friday. Price moved straight up and then straight back down to finish off the day. I'm going to put this up and you can see it better on the hourly. Look at last Friday. One candle straight up, and then they sat sideways for 2 more hours and then came right back down. So that, in my opinion, they're just stop running. Sorry, guys, I got my emails just dinging in here, if you can hear that. We had a big stop run coming in here, cleared out all of this area right here, and it traded off very aggressively from there. So we're going to wait and see what happens. I would personally think that we may want to trade up somewhere into this area here. We could see coming up into Monday and then price starting to roll over. If we get through this area here, basically back up into here, then again, we'll probably see higher prices on the US dollar, and then we'll see this low high here, this high, and then subsequently maybe those highs there get run out. But if you look at the daily, we're looking pretty heavy. And the US dollar, sorry, the Canadian dollar showing a little bit of strength. But keep in mind, Bank of Canada monetary policy meeting, Bank of Canada monetary policy report is coming out, and the rate statement on Wednesday of this week. So more than likely, what we're probably going to see on the Canadian dollar is more sideways action for Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday they'll finally release it. And I mean, I'm anticipating more downward action. But if, and I think the Bank of Canada will probably hold fast on their interest rates. They will drop their rates more than likely towards the end of the year. They will probably hold it going through the summer. I don't think they're going to start dropping it right away. And you can see the predictions out right now. The forecast is to hold them at 1.75%. The previous being at 1.75%. So we'll see, unless they offer some surprises. But I think we'll probably see them hold it off at the same rate, and which means we should see continuation to the downside. If we do see that, we'll see 128 or 12900 basically. I'm going to put that at that level. Let me just do that right now. 129. We'll see that basically those lows right there get run out. So that's what I'm looking for in US CAD ultimately in the long run. However, if they do decide to throw a wrench in the plan and they drop the interest rates, then we could see this as being the low, which means they just ran this low prematurely and then reject it, and then they're going to run higher. So if that happens, again, this high from Friday will get traded out. And if that high from Friday gets traded out and gets traded above, then I'll be bullish on US CAD, and we'll probably see price try to make a climb higher. Okay, UJ, as mentioned, took out these highs from a couple of weeks ago. This is a 4-hour chart here that I'm on. And I was looking for them to do it in this run up in here. Failed to do that. But look what they left back down here. Some nice equal lows, relative equal lows down here. And I think we're probably going to come back down and breach that area. If we go up any further, I wouldn't anticipate them to come any higher than here. I've got 109 pretty much 0 and 109.15 on the charts labeled out right in here as a potential target to the upside. But basically all I'd be looking for, if they did want to run this thing up, I'll run above this high and that high there, and that is about it. I wouldn't expect any further strength on US yen as long as the US dollar continues to go lower. If the US dollar starts running higher, then we'll see US yen. These will be targets, but they'll be targets, first targets on a continuation upward. You can see where we came from in US yen. We've got a big gap above here they never bothered to fill, and a little bit of a pocket area above this high here that would interest me to see if they want to run out. But ultimately, I think 106.44 on the downside could get traded to on yen. So I'll watch and see what they're doing there. But you can see, sorry, I flipped over a little too quickly. You can see what they're doing in here. They're coming down once, came down twice, went sideways for a while, dropped it down, came back up and hit it once, hit it twice. So as I say, they just ran that high here. I think they're going to drop in at the very least, at least swing down and take out these lows here. When we get down to this area, and again, that's right down underneath here, we'll have to wait and see what they want to do there to see if they want to further continue to the downside here. But I think if they bring it all the way up in here and they don't try to go any higher, there's a good chance that, and we don't get above this red dotted line, then there's a good chance that they'll probably try to swing through that low there and ultimately this low here. So we'll watch for that. But obvious bearish action on US yen. Go to a weekly and you can see that they're doing a very good job of dropping price on this. Okay, Australian dollar, last of the Forex pairs. This was their interest rate decision a couple of weeks ago, or sorry, early last week. Monetary policy decision. They ran price down only to jack it straight up, took out the highs just for price to fall back down again last Friday due to non-farm payroll numbers coming out. And I was a little upset that they didn't take those lows right there. I thought for sure they were going to do that. So which is kind of why I think we're going to potentially see one more, maybe potentially one more run higher on the US dollar before price runs lower. And that's where I think that we'll see this quick drop below here, run these lows here. They might run these lows here. That's why I've got 69.35 on the chart here. They may touch off of that. We're not too far away from that, about 50 pips, a little under 50 pips from now. But I think we're going to see just a quick drop lower and then a potential run higher like that. So keep your eye on Australian dollar this week. There is some Aussie news, but it doesn't fall onto the charts until later on into Thursday. And there's really not much going on. But again, it is summer months, so a little bit quiet in terms of volatility. And then finally, to wrap up, and my target ultimately long term is 72.10 on Australian dollar. So as long as we continue bullish action, we don't start trading back down into here, or basically under 69.35, that's my line in the sand. If we start trading under 69.35 on Australian dollar, then it may want to run out this low, and that could be the catalyst for the US dollar to continue higher. As long as we maintain above this level here, we should see prices continue bullish to the upside. And as I say, 72.10 is my target for Australian dollar. Okay, wrapping up here on oil quickly. We had the OPEC decision coming out that had stipulated that they're going to maintain their production cuts. So ultimately, the more production cuts you have, the less oil that they're producing will restrict the amount that you have in supply, and once that happens, it makes a scarcity of the product, in turn moving the price higher. So ultimately, we should see higher prices on crude oil. However, we had a big bull run up into here, and then price failed to get any higher, and a big down day last Tuesday of last week. You can see that big down day there, and really price didn't go anywhere all of Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of last week. So I think they're holding this, and I think they're going to come down. My gut feeling tells me that they're going to ram it down here to this 54.52 level, and or 54.60 level, I guess. Potentially this old high in here, maybe lower. But that's whatever I'm looking at for crude oil. Now, if we start trading above, let me just get this. If we start trading above 58, we'll call it $59. If we come all the way back up to $59 before it comes down to here, then they're going to run out these highs, and potentially we could start to see price of crude oil gain some strength throughout the summer and going into the 60s, high 60s to maybe even the 70s, if they don't decide to come and run under here. However, I have the sneaking suspicion that they're going to come in, and you see what they came in here, and then they ran these lows here, 1, 2, 3, and I called these lows last week. This was last week. This was the week before. I called that, and I said they're going to come down and they're going to take out those lows there, and sure enough, it's exactly what they did. Came down once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, and then created a bunch of equal lows right in here. So I think that's just another area of liquidity that they're going to jam price down to, and I think they're going to do something like this. And then we'll start to see it go higher. We could even come a little bit deeper, again, down to 54. 80s, 54.70s, maybe even 54.50s. But I think they're going to come down before they start running up. And again, if they start running above 59 even, before they come down to here, then they're just going to keep running this thing higher, and they're not going to come down and run any of these lows at all. Okay? So that's it in a nutshell, folks. I hope you have a great week of trading. I will be back, of course, for our live sessions for all of our members in our member group at f45trading.com. If you want some more information about that, jump on our website at f45trading.com and check out all the options that we have there. There is a little bit of something for everybody, for new traders, beginners, intermediate, and experts. Absolutely, we work with y'all, and the more the merrier. So I hope you guys have a great week of trading. Thanks again for watching. Leave a comment for us if this was helpful to you. Give me a thumbs up if you like what you saw, and I appreciate you watching. I hope you guys have a great week of trading. We'll catch up to you in the next one.